All right. Hello, everybody, and welcome to the second NCE Procurement webinar for eProcurement users. My name is Jeff. I'm with eProcurement. I will be leading the training today, and let me just clarify that this is not for eProcurement users. This is for state users that currently use IPS. So apologies about that. I'll be handing it over to Zach on our team to do some demos in a little bit as well when I get done. And then we've got a couple members of our team, Lauren, Afua, and Amanda, that will be monitoring the chat. Now, before we get started, just want to do one disclaimer here. This is a Teams live session, so it is being recorded. So if you do not consent to being included in the recording at this time, then this would be a good time for you to leave the session. But because it's recorded, the good thing about that is we will be able to send you a copy of this later on. So that is a little bit of the recording disclaimer there. So now let's talk about some logistics. So first of all, I do want to be clear about who the intended audience is for this session. This is for procurement users who currently post and manage their solicitations via IPS and NC bids. Those are primarily users from community colleges, school districts, local governments. So if you are a state agency employee who uses NCE procurement sourcing to manage your solicitations, this is not a session for you. We would suggest that you come back to another session that we're having tomorrow that will focus mostly on the e-procurement aspect of this and how that will work with the new eVP session. So you're welcome to stay, but not all the information is going to be applicable to you. So for those of you that are still here, couple things about questions. You'll see that there is no option for you to speak in this. This will be all a demonstration, but we do want you to take advantage of the Q&A icon in the top right of your screen. It should be next to the leave button. Don't click leave, but if you open up that Q&A icon, you will see that our team can post messages to the entire group and you can ask questions. Right above the field where you type in your question is a field where you can add a name to who's asking the question. And we really request that you do add a name so that we know if we need to go back and forth and we get multiple questions around the same topic, who we're responding to. Otherwise, it says anonymous, and we get 10 anonymouses in there, and it's difficult to give you as good answers as we could if we knew who was asking the questions. So please do that. As well, with Teams Live's event, there's actually a little bit of a delay. So you're seeing things about a minute after we're actually presenting them. So if you ask a question, and it is just something like, what? Explain. We don't have as much information as we can to answer your question. So please be a little bit more specific on exactly what you want explained, and we can do a better job of answering those because we may have moved on in the presentation because of the lag. But we will sometimes respond to those questions directly to you. Sometimes we'll publish those questions for the group to see because they're good questions and we have good answers. Other times we may not be able to get to all the questions that we have in the Q&A, but we are copying all those down and compiling answers. And so every question that gets asked, even if we don't respond to it in this session, will be answered in a printed attachment that we send out to everybody afterwards when we make the video available and all that. So we will be getting answers to all of your questions at some point in the near future. It just may not be today. So hopefully those logistics get us started on the right foot. And let's now talk about what we plan to do today. So first of all, we're scheduled to go about 90 minutes. We're going to start off with just an overview of what we're calling the new eVP, the whole process and the timeline and all of that with this upgrade. And then what we're going to do is we're going to give you an introduction to what we're calling the back-end eVP, because there's two sides of this now, your side and the vendor side. And you will be referring to that as the agency app. You guys are agencies, and it's your application to manage your solicitations and other things. Then we're going to get into some demos. Start with creating a solicitation that's going to be posted publicly, then go all the way through all the steps up to awarding that solicitation and how that's all going to work. And we are going to that point, I'll transfer it over to Zach, and he's going to talk about posting contract extensions and then going through the public aspect of the eVP so you can see how to do searches for public vendors and how vendors will interact in the system to see the things that you've put out there. And then finally, before we wrap up, there's going to be a short session on hub reporting. Now, this may not be applicable to everybody in here. There's only certain users in the system that will do hub reporting. So if it's not applicable to you, you can leave if you want, but we will then wrap up with an overall closing after that. But that is kind of what is laid out for us. So without further ado, let's just move on into an overview of what the new eVP is. And so you can see some tabs here that have a little bit of a description, but just at its most basic level, this new eVP is emerging in the current versions of the IPS and NC bid system that many of you use to manage your public solicitations, along with the electronic vendor portal or eVP. So yeah, IPS is where you are posting your solicitations, and if you choose to get the electronic responses, that's where you are receiving those back. And then the electronic vendor portal or eVP it's a current system right now that vendors use to register, to receive purchase orders and other notifications of public solicitations for the state of North Carolina. And those two systems are now merging into one system that we're calling just eVP. That's the new upgrade. So your IPS is going to be brought into that, along with your management and the vendors aspect of their management. We're also bringing in the hub office and the small business NCSBE office as well, and their certification process will be brought into this system as well to just bring everyone a lot closer together. So because now there are kind of two sides to one coin with both the buying community and the vendor community working together, that just brings a lot of the interactions closer together and is going to really enhance some of the way that both sides are going to work in the system with solicitations and certifications and other things like that. Now, a bit of a technical explanation for you. So IPS, which has been around for a long time, has served the state very, very well, but it is an older technology. The new eVP is going to be brought into the Microsoft Cloud, and along with cloud applications, there's a lot more flexibility, a lot more storage capacity, a lot longer life that data can live on there. And so that is really going to benefit both sides of the situation as well. So that's kind of a little bit about what it is. This next slide, as I go forward, is also, it's just a visual representation of kind of the two sides of this new and improved supersized eVP. So on the left side here, you see the public side, and that's where vendors are going to continue to manage their accounts. They're already in a version of eVP right now where they manage their accounts and register for various things. But the neat part about them, where they're going to benefit from this is now the bid notifications and responses are also in this same site. They used to have to manage their account in eVP and then go to IPS for solicitations. Now, the same place that they manage their account, they're going to get their bid notifications. And because now we have the hub office is involved, their certification process is through this as well. The vendors have much more visibility into the process of their hub certification too. So basically, we've removed one major website that vendors would go to, and they get everything in one place right now. So that is, I think, a really helpful thing. And there's also literally a public aspect to the public eVP, which is where we'll show you later on the current public vendor search that is still going to exist. We'll show you on your back-end agency app. You also have a vendor search now, which is really nice. And then posted solicitation. So what IPS was doing, that is now existing in the whole eVP. So that is a little look at the public side, the vendor side, but now let's come over to your side, which is what we're calling the back end. And you'll see that there's state procurement users, and that is you. That's the people in this webinar. There's also DOA. So the purchasing contract has administrative access to this with some abilities to manage vendor accounts and do some other things. And then hub users, as we said, they will now, as opposed to the prior process where how they were handling certifications, now that's all been much more streamlined into the same app. So we're calling your access to this the agency app. DOA and PNC's access is going to be the admin app, and hub users the hub app. But it's all really the same view, just they have different things that they can see in it that maybe you're not going to be able to see the exact same things that someone from PNC that has a little bit more administrative powers can see. But you will be posting your solicitations here. You can manage bid openings here should you choose to get them electronically. If you have to announce a contract extension, you will be posting that here. And then there's also something, again, Zach's going to cover this at the end. Now the hub reporting is going to be managed through this system as well. And I think there's some nice automation to that for those of you that do that you guys will like. So this is just kind of a view of the public side, the back end side. You guys are going to be working in what's called the agency app, but this connection now, bringing everyone closer together, is going to really bring a lot of benefits for everybody in the state for that, conducting business. So before we get into the actual system, let's talk about the transition and timing. So we are just off this slide here. We're on June 28th right now. The go live is July 10th. So that is when the new system will be up and ready to go. We've got weekends here. We've got a weekend here. We got the 4th of July here. So we are rapidly approaching that. But the importance of this slide is just to let you know that around this go live, there's going to be a couple pauses on the front end for posting new solicitations, and then pauses on the back end for opening bids. And right now, if you have a solicitation in the works and maybe you've tried to post with a bid opening in this range, the system already has some guardrails in to tell you, like, no, you can't do that right now. So the last day that you can post something in IPS so that vendors will be notified of it before July 10th is going to be this Friday, June 30th. The last day that a solicitation can kind of be completed, meaning you get to the point where bids are due and you can open the bid responses within IPS, is going to be July 7th. So if you are posting something by Friday, it has to have a bid opening date by July 7th. That is probably not going to give the vendors enough time to respond. So at this point, if you are trying to post something by June 30th, it's going to have a bid opening date of July 17th or after, which, if it is not an urgent thing that definitely needs to be opened on July 17th or 18th, we'd encourage you to consider maybe just waiting until July 10th and then posting your new solicitation in the new system so it doesn't start in one place and then get converted over to the other place. If you have some current solicitations that were already posted in IPS and are going to open after July 17th, those will be automatically converted over into the new system. So they were announced here. They will then be kind of re-available for the vendors to evaluate and see if they want to respond on July 10th, but vendors won't be able to actually respond until after July 17th. So that gives a week of transition to get used to the new system before responses are due. If you have any questions in particular about one solicitation that you're working on right now or that you have in there, get in touch with the help desk and we can talk about specific situations with you and kind of go over, hey, okay, this is going to happen on this date and that's going to happen on this date. We understand that solicitations, you can't just make one up. You can't just decide, okay, I'm going to post a solicitation today and it's probably posted by the 30th. You've got to take, it takes weeks sometimes to get approvals and to get your solicitation document in order. So hopefully you've had enough notice to kind of work around these pauses on the front and back end, but we can work with you in one-off situations if you have specific questions about a specific solicitation coming up. So that's a little bit about the time. The last thing we'll say is that IPS as a whole is planning to stay open until October 10th. So if you tried to find IPS on October 11th, it probably will not be there. And that is to allow for awards to be posted for a certain amount of time that for solicitations that were posted and opened by July 7th. So anything that's currently out there and all that. So That is the details of kind of what this upgrade project is, how it's going to impact you, and the timing of that. The next thing we want to do is move in and show you kind of what you're going to be working with in the new agency app. But before we do that, were there any questions in the Q&A that we wanted to answer for the group?
I don't think the only question that was asked that we answered in the chat was around whether bid postings would automatically be sent to the hub site. Answer is yes. Anything that's solicitations that are posted in eVP will automatically post to the hub opportunity site as well.
Yep, that is true. So thank you for answering that, and we will now move on. So let's talk about just an introduction to what we're calling the agency app. It's the eVP backend. So this is a screenshot of what the homepage looks like. But I'm going to switch now to the web, and we've got a training environment, and we're going to show you that from your point of view there. So let me escape out of this and move on over into here. And before I go in and log into the system in our test environment, I do want to make sure that everybody is aware of the eProcurement homepage, which is eprocurement.nc.gov. You may have had interaction with this for buying, purchase orders and all of that. But the IPS system it was controlled by P&C, and so they had the training documents and kind of help desk for that. For a lot of the things, we'd field calls on our help desk about that, but we didn't have as much kind of insight into the inner workings of the system as we will come July 10th, when eVP kind of comes under the formal eProcurement umbrella. So this is our website. It's got a lot of information there too. You can see we've already got notifications of a new eVP coming up. I do want to point out here training, and you can see down here. So we've had existing training you've probably used buyer training if you're someone that handles purchase orders. We have training for vendors and how they respond to all this. But this is a brand new site, and if I click on it, this is going to be training for your interaction with this new eVP state procurement system, the agency app, because you are official words of the state eVP state procurement users. So click on this, you'll see that it's still under construction as we get closer there, but you'll see we've already got some job aids up on the stuff we're going to cover today: posting solicitations in the agency app, viewing bids, entering bid tabulation. So we're building these out with videos and all that. That's all going to be coming, but the job aid. So let me just click on this and make sure you're aware here. We've got these accordion buttons here that describe various things with screenshots, but we'd encourage you to click on the open the job aid link. And what you get here is we've got some we've got to link this to when everything gets updated all together, but we've got some really nice job aids just going to describe the process to you that we are going through. So be aware that we are now supporting you in this, whereas previously when you were posting through IPS, we didn't really have the oversight to do that. So those options are available to you, and we would definitely encourage you to take advantage of those as we go forward. As well, just make sure you know, I'm clicking on the contact page over here, our help desk. You have been maybe called that for the buyer options for purchase orders, but we'll be updating this to mention solicitations in general, and we'll be fielding calls on our help desk from 7:30 to 5 Monday through Friday on using the new system. And there's a learning curve to something new, and when you have to post your first new one in the system coming up next couple weeks after July 10th, we're going to be here to help you. So I want to make sure that everyone is aware of the resources here, as well as we scroll down. Let me go back to the main page. Down here, we've got these tabs to log into various aspects. There will be a tab to log into the agency app for you. When you log into the Agency Act, speaking of that, it is going to be with an NCID and password. There will be no multi-factor authentication, nothing like that. So I think we're sending emails out to people that currently maybe do not have those, as that we could check that were active in IPS right now. If you are active in IPS right now, if you have a role there, you'll be automatically moved over into eVP. But to access it, you're going to need to make sure that you've got your NCID and password all set up for that. So there won't be multi-factor authentication, but you will need that login password to get in, and then you will see things that fall under your purview. So we don't have these links set up right now. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go into, I've got a test environment open here, and this is what it's going to look like when you guys log in. So what I wanted to do right now is just give you a little rundown of what you see. And we're going to be talking primarily about these links on what we're calling the navigation panel over on the left-hand side, kind of show you how to get through to different screens here. So you'll see right there, Agency App. That is what you're going to look at. This is the sandbox right now. This is a test environment, so it may look slightly different at the top. In general, this is a search bar. This is a meta search. It's going to search for the entire system, which is really nice. You'll see that when we get to specific pages, there are search bars that search just among that page, but this is going to search the entire system. So I'm going to click on the Home tab, and you'll see it looks like the Home tab is essentially this dashboard, and these dashboards are set up as a default. And what you'll see here, these are solicitations by type. And an interesting part of this is that we can you will be able to see all of the solicitations, not just that you did, but of other people in your agency. So if you work at, say, Catawba Valley Community College, and there are 3 people there that manage solicitations, we'll show you how you can see your solicitations, but you'll also be able to see there. So there's some really nice visibility there. But that's the Home tab. Now I go to Recent, and what that is this is a nice thing. It's going to show you the things that you have just, recently looked at. So if you are working on 2 solicitations, or you're looking at a specific vendor, or you're looking at a specific page, and you're going back and forth currently, this shows you the last things you worked on, so you don't need to search for it again. You can just, oh, I was looking at that. Oh yeah, let me go down to that RFP right there, because it's right there. Additionally, on top of that, if there's something that you're currently working on that you really want to make sure is top of your list, you can pin that. And just click on this pin button, and it will show up down in your pin. So I have one thing pinned here. I'll show you how to pin that later, pin something else later on. But if I know that I want to look at this eVP Janitorial Services open solicitation, I can pin that. And then again, I don't need to search for it. And then when I'm done with that one, hey, we've awarded it. It's no longer a current concern. You can click unpin, and it takes it away. So we think you're going to really like that aspect of, the recent and then hyper recent being the pin stuff. Please scroll down, there's dashboards. And again, these are defaulted, and it's showing you now solicitations under evaluation, meaning pending selection, meaning this is for the entire agency or college or local government, active contract extension. So I don't know that you're going to spend too much time on these dashboards, which is also the Home tab, but down below, vendor management and bid management, that is where a lot of the good stuff is going to happen. So I want to show you that. So first of all, let me click on vendors, and everyone's going to have access to this. So you still have access to a public vendor search, which Zach will show you later, but all of the vendors that are registered in the system, because now we brought the public, the vendor side of things into your side of things, managing this with the Agency app, now there's a crossover. And so we have all the records of vendors are right here for us. So we're in the training environment. There's some of these vendors don't have a lot of data in them, but something that I can do, and this is, as I said, there's a search filter within the page. So if I want to search just for vendors, let's just say I'm going to put an asterisk, and we encourage you to put, so for faster search result, well, so don't start with an asterisk. I think for more accurate search results, start with an asterisk. I want to find all the vendors that have janitor somewhere in their account. So I click that, and I click forward. And the system will search here real quick, and you'll notice now there's 78 vendors that are active here that have janitor in their name, and you can see that, which is really nice. Now I come down to Amaze Clean. I'm like, that doesn't have janitor in the name. Seems like it would make sense though that they do some janitorial stuff. If I click on them or click on any vendor record, you'll see here there's various tabs and summary, contact locations, all the stuff that you can see in a different version on the public vendor search. But where it was pulling from, you see there, it has janitor in the website name. So this is a really nice, powerful search. It's going to bring back a lot of things. And you'll see here, we can see the last four of their tax ID. We've got the customer number. Now, as I scroll down, I'll see some fields that are grayed out. Admin users, so PNC, they have the ability to manage vendor accounts, and they would be able to edit these, but you guys are read-only, so you don't have to worry about changing the vendor's account, but you can see all the information. So this is all the information that you would be able to see in public vendor search. It's just in a different way, and you can click on contacts and see that they have one contact, and there's only one here, but it's Nicole. And then see if their hub status, see what the commodity codes are. All of this information you have available to you. So once you get in the system and kind of play around with it, you'll figure out whether you like looking up vendors that you may need to do some research on within this system or public vendor search that you've previously only had access to. So that's kind of the vendor thing. Now we'll go down to the solicitations, and I'm going to click on solicitations here. I'm not going to get too far into this because that's going to be the bulk of what the demos are going to be on, but you can see that it defaults to my active solicitation. So these would be things that I created, my user created. And if I go down to active solicitations, and that's going to be the default, my active, but if I go down to active solicitations, it's going to show all of the solicitations that are active in the entire agency. So if, there's two other people that I work with that also post solicitations, I can see theirs too. They just don't show up under my active, which makes sense. Lastly, there is inactive, which is anything that's been canceled. So had you put something out and had to cancel it, those would show up under inactive. But we're going to get this great history going forward from July 10th on, where all of these will live here, and we can go back and access them, the history of them, as well as they will publicly be out there for much longer than is currently able to be out there in IPS with things. So I'm going to get a lot more into solicitations here when I start our demos, but just want to show that there's also bids, tabulations, award, contract extensions. All of those are also organized, at least by my preference, a little bit better based on the solicitation, but you can see everything else within the system there. And the last thing is this department management, and part of our go live prep emails that are being sent out when you guys sign in for the first time on July 10th, we're asking you to go in and just make sure that everything looks good with your departments. And so what you would do is you would click on this departments section, and this is going to list everybody in the state. And if you are Catawba Valley Community College, you could then click on this and just make sure that the people listed there with your contacts are the correct contacts. And if not, we can update those, but that's a good time to review how things are set up in the system. So you will, July 10th, you'll have access to go ahead and do that. So that's just a little bit of a background of kind of what the system is and what you're going to be able to see on July 10th. Are there any questions that we want to answer now before we go into our demo?
We've got several questions, Jeff, but we've been able to address them all in the chat.
Fantastic. You guys are doing great. So I will keep moving along. Okay, so let's talk about looking at our existing solicitations and then creating a new one. So once you click on solicitations, it defaults to my active solicitations, which is good. It's yours. If you're the only person in your purchasing unit that does solicitations, you won't be able to see anyone else's because there's none to see. It'll just be your active. But a lot of people have multiple people that post. So we are focused here. What you can see, so these are all ones that I've already created. And I've got one named for today, June 28th. It's an example I have that we're going to look at later on where we have responses. But let me talk about the status reasons here. So you'll have a couple different status reasons. There's actually 4 status reasons that you'll see on this page, which basically tells you at what point your solicitation is in the process. What I don't see right now is draft. We will see it in a second once I click this new button to start a new one. But draft means that you're working on it, but it hasn't been posted publicly. If you see open, that means that you have posted it publicly and it's out there on the public eVP, and vendors that are registered and logged into the system have the ability to respond to those. It also means you have the ability to create addendums, which you will have to do, and we're going to go over in a while. Then there's pending selection, meaning we hit the end. This one I had open at June 26th, a couple days ago at 8 a.m. so that we would have responses. We hit that, it's now pending selection. You can't do addendums on it, vendors can't respond on it, but you are now in the process of reviewing the responses and working with PNC or DIT to come up with a winner based on their help and their guidance. And then awarded means that you've done that and you've actually turned it onto you've said, okay, this person is getting the contract. You indicate that here in the system and everybody knows about it, and you're kind of closing out the process. And now you're going forward just managing that contract with the vendor. So those are the 4 status reasons that you will see here and we think are important to describe. You'll see here there's a solicitation number. This is going to be a free text field. You guys determine what the solicitation number is. So I typed in the letters RFP. I could type in IFB. Maybe I don't even want to put that prefix there. That's going to be up to you. Letters or numbers, it's up to you. What you will see once you post a solicitation, which we did not replicate here because of our access to the system, is your 2-digit prefix for your college, your local government, your school district, whatever that prefix is, that will automatically show up here once you click post. So you don't need to put that in yourself. It is not represented here in real life. If I had the ability to act as one of your business units, that would have showed up there. So just be aware of that this is not reflected in this screenshot, but when you are in the real system, that will post for you as it does today in IPS. And then you're going to give everything a title. You're going to give it a description. You can do much better than I did there. These are just for the demos. You can be as detailed or as basic as you want. Just remember that these are going to populate. These are not just internal. These will also populate on the public facing sides. And this is going to kind of give the vendors an idea, along with the commodity code selected, of what you're looking for. The opening date means when our bids due. So I've got a lot of early ones just so I could work on these in the in our examples before these sessions, but most of the time you're doing an afternoon bid opening date, and you'll see the default date is going to be 2 p.m. and the status reason, and then when you created it. So now if I want to see more information on it, I can click into them, but instead of doing that, let me just start to show you how I would build a new one. We're going to look at that once it's posted. So that's just a rundown of what you're seeing here now. Anytime you want to create a new solicitation, and again, you've gone through the process, however you work with PNC or DIT to get approval and finalize your solicitation document, it's at this point that then you would come here and do this. So I'm going to click new, and I get a screen that looks like this, and it's going to have a general and documents and bids. Obviously, these are going to come later, but general is where we're going to start. So we're going to start with putting in our project title, which what I'm going to use today is eVP janitorial services demo. So you can title it however you want. You see their asterisks indicate the required field. This is essentially a form. You guys are smart enough and experienced enough to know how you want to advertise this. So the title, I think, was already existing in IPS. Description, I think, is maybe a new field, but you maybe described in another part. But you're essentially giving the vendor a little bit more context around what they're building on. So janitorial services contract for 3 years. And you maybe tell the buildings all that. You guys get the drift on that. Now, here's our solicitation number. And again, this is a free text field. So I just came up with however you determine your RFP or IFP number, that you will continue to name that yourself. And again, you do not need to put your prefix in there. When I post this, if I was in the real system, that prefix would automatically come up. Now we come down to opening date. So this is how far in advance are we allowing people to submit bids. So you've got a calendar icon here. I'm going to go, today's the 28th. If I go forward 1, 2, 3 weeks, we'll just say July 19th. So you can set it up however you like. The opening time defaults to 2 p.m., which is a very common opening time around the state. If you do need to change that, you can do so in 30-minute increments. So some of you may not need 2 p.m., but it will default to 2 p.m., and that's not customizable per agency. That is across the state and decision that the state made on behalf of everybody. Now, we're going to come down to category, commodity, family, and commodity code. These are commodity codes, and the importance of selecting good commodity codes is that then notifies the vendor community of this opportunity for business that they have. So I think this is a place where you're going to see a nice upgrade in the functionality here. You'll see there's 3 sections, and before you had to pick one broad section and then go down to the second section and pick a less broad section. I guess would be more specific. Now what you can do is you can fill in broad, more specific, most specific, but you can just go right down to this bottom section and look for the 6-digit commodity code. So I'm going to click on, the best way to do that is just to click on this magnifying glass. A couple suggestions alphabetically come up, and I always just click on advanced lookup. And so I get this bigger screen here. And now what you can do is you can search via keyword or via code. So if you know the number, and a lot of times you know I need this number, you can type that in the search here. If you just know a word that is similar to what you're looking for, you can type that in. It's going to be up to you, but it's going to work way better than it has before. So we've been using janitor that's our example, is janitorial services. I put that in, and here's what I get back. So I get back, this is what I want here. It's services. It starts with the 789 or services. These codes match the purchase order codes now in the buying side, which is really nice. So I would click this one. You'll also see, so if I was looking to buy the actual accessories, I need some carts and brooms and floor buffers, all that kind of stuff. Right now you can only select one code, and there might be upgrades in the near future of being able to attach multiple codes to maybe draw a wider vendor base. However, there is a way to kind of do that within this system now. So we'll use the goods sections here. So say I was like, okay, I need cleaning equipment accessories and floor machine accessories and I want to get all the people that have indicated that they do that, because maybe there's not as much overlap. If you choose a code that ends in 00, it will automatically notify anyone that had indicated their code that ends in, it's the same 4712 all the way through, but 00 will ping the people that said 15, 18, 19, 16, or 17. So you are, in essence, notifying a wider body. So if you do have the ability to select something that has a 00 on it, you are going to increase the amount of vendors that are notified about this. Now, if you know exactly who you want and it is this very specific thing, go ahead and do that. You only want people that sell carts. Maybe there's someone that is specialized in that, just click that. But if you want to cover all these, cover 00. I have a service, I'm going to click here, and you see it pop up there and click done. So for the time being, there's only one you can select, but in the future you may be able to select both. But if you do select ones with 00, it will cover a lot. And you can see it automatically populated everything else, so we're good to go. That's a really nice upgrade in functionality. If there was a site visit or you want to include special instructions, no requirements to do so, but you could add that there if you want. And then we come down to the last 2 places where you have requirements. You have type contract, you have agency contract is the default, but I can also do an agency specific term contract. That would mean over a period of time. If we said 3 years, that would be a term contract. So I'm going to do that, but you choose what's applicable to your solicitation. And then finally, post solicitation. So you have 2 options here. eBid or paper. I'm choosing eBid, and that means I want the vendors to respond with electronic responses within this tool, and I want to collect my bids on the bids tab once it hits pending selection. If you want to provide other instructions to vendors, whether it is to actually send you something in a physical envelope via paper, you select paper. If you have the authority to ask people to respond just via email and not through here, you would also select paper. It says paper, but that would also include emails directly to you if that is something that PNC DIT allow you to do. So don't let paper box you into, oh, it needs to be physical. That's obviously the most common way to do that, but you can select paper, and that would just mean that vendors, instead of responding through the system, they need to look at your solicitation document in the response section and follow your instructions there. So for this one, I'm going to select eBid, and now we have everything that I needed to fill out has been filled out. If I forgot to fill something out, it would give me a red error message. But what I'm going to do now is I'm just going to click save. And now we have this is a saved eVP janitorial services. Our status is draft. And I have two options up here. I have upload document and post solicitation. Post solicitation, nice green button. It is, enticing. Let's post this, but I can't post it until I put a document there, which makes sense, right? So those guardrails are nice. So let's show you how to attach a document. So I would click on upload document. And I get my options here, and I've got this completed solicitation document. Yours would be much more detailed than that. And I click open. And it says, all right, success. Your file has successfully attached the note. So I'm going to click OK. I don't really see any evidence of that, but let me go to my Documents tab. And I pop over here. And this is a good example. I don't want to say, oh, this is a good example. There's no documents attached. But we do want to prepare you that sometimes, including attaching documents, there is a little bit of a lag. So if this happens to you, what we want you to encourage you to do is click this refresh button. Click refresh, and it brought me back to general. So let me go back to my Documents tab, and no documents attached. Let me click that again. We want to be patient here. Okay, well, there may be a We'll give it some time. It usually doesn't take this long. So we will see that if there is a temporary bug in the system, or if that is it's just taking a little bit more time with some slowness in our test environment. But it is not uncommon that you say, hey, this file was successfully attached. I got that message, but I can't see it. And what we want you to do is just be patient and click refresh. The reason being, you can upload multiple documents to a single solicitation. It's probably in the past, with IPS for your solicitation document, you only had one that you could upload. And that's probably all you need to do for solicitations. But as you'll see when we get into addendums, you are going to add other documents, and that would be in the system. But if you do add a document, the one thing is you can't delete the document. That might be functionality coming down the road, but if you added two solicitation documents, or maybe the wrong solicitation document, unfortunately, there's no way to delete that document. If you did not want to post it with that document, you'd have to start over. But let me click refresh again and see what we have here. And okay, so there may be something in our system right now that is preventing me from doing that. So what I'm going to do is, fortunately, let me see. Normally, what would happen is you'd have a document that is attached there, and you'd be able to click post. So I'm going to try to click post solicitation, even though it's not showing me that the document is there. So let me click on this, because at this point, we filled out our general tab. Everything's there. While it's in draft, I can edit all this. But now I want to post it. So let me see if, and maybe I'll just go back and upload another document if it's telling me that I can't post this. So let me click on post, saying, because the document's not uploaded. So there was an issue. Let me try one more time on the document. We'll see if that works. I got that message, but maybe it didn't actually take. So completed solicitation document. Let's click open. File successfully attached. Okay, let's see if this one worked this time. Go to my document and click refresh. And there it is. Not sure what happened the first time, but I think that is a good thing. It showed you a couple guardrails. So I got a message that told me it worked the first time, but I wanted to make sure and see with my own eyes. I came over the Documents tab. I click refresh because I know that sometimes there's a little bit of a lag, and I was like, this should be there by now. So I tried to post it, but it wouldn't let me post it because I didn't have the document there. So I uploaded it again. So something just happened with the first one. Hopefully, it's a situation with the test environment. But now we got it there. So thank you for bearing with me while we kind of troubleshooted that. And now, though, if I go to post this solicitation document, it says, please confirm that you'd like to post it, be visible to vendors again. And let me just show you this here. I talked about there is no way right now to delete documents. So if you can then click here and download it, make sure you have the right one. But if you upload a document that you don't want to be public, you would have to kind of maybe start over on this one. But I like this one. I'm going to click post, click OK. And now the status has gone from draft to open, which means that people can bid on it. And we just posted our first solicitation. So the next thing we want to do is show you what it looks like in the real system for vendors to see it. Sorry, in the vendor side of the system. But before that, before we switch over into the public eVP to show that, were there any questions that we wanted to answer about that process that you guys didn't get to in the Q&A?
No, I think we've been able to answer the questions thus far.
Got it. Thank you guys for being such pros. All right. So what I'm going to do now, so this is posted there. If I go to my active solicitations, here is the, where was that one? The demo, eVP services demo. That's the one I just did. You'll see it's organized by opening date. You can, by clicking on these column headers, it'll organize it in a different way if you need to. But this one was opened, the last of mine that are opening on July 19th. And so it's open, and when it was posted, and if I need to go back and look at it, here's my general tab. You can see now that it's posted, I can't edit here, but I do have an addendum tab, which we'll get to in a bit. And then my documents are right there. So that's how that looks. On my end, let's see how it looks on the vendor's end. And actually, let me go back in here, and I'm going to copy down this RFP number to search for it a little bit quicker. Okay, so let me go to the home page here. This is what it's going to look like. This is the new eVP, the public side of things. You'll see the sign in, that's for vendors. So when a vendor already has an account, they will sign in, they can manage their account, they will be able to respond to things and all that. So if I'm just starting, I would sign in here and register. If I have my account, I can click sign in or sign in, but that's not concern for you guys now. For you right there, you will not sign in, and this will be your view. So if I want to look at solicitations that are posted, solicitations. If I want to go to public vendor, Zach's going to show you that later, vendors, and contract extension, the same thing. We're going to focus on solicitations now, so I'd click there. And what happens is this is how things are published in the system. So first of all, you can see that the default is to show anything, no matter the status, based on the earliest date in the system. I think, that first couple weeks, that'll be good. Down the road, not. But what we are suggesting that people do, vendors in particular, is use this filter. So if you click on the filters, you have a bunch of filters. So if I wanted to search by all things from a specific college or anything, from a non-state agency, but a different institution or a, one of the local governments, you have that access there. You can search this as sort of commodity code, dates. You can see what these are. We're suggesting that vendors look at open, and that means these are things I can bid on. And for you, NCEP sourcing, no. So if you want to see all things that have been posted in the state that are able to be bid on, that are in an open, that would be open status, that are from agencies or colleges like yourself, you'd do on that, click apply. And now it's organizing these. So we've got something that are open on various dates there, and we can find those. Now so this is what it looks like if you're just searching in general. To find a specific one, I took that RFP number. I'm going to type that in there and click on the search bar. And there it is right there. This is what I just did, janitorial services demo, janitorial contract for 3 years. So you can see how the project and description populate for vendors to get that information. The opening date, I said 2 p.m. on July 19th, the date it was posted, the status, and my department. I'm in the admin department right now. So I do want to say that we saw the lag, which is not common. That was the first time I've seen it in one of my demos, but good for you to see with showing that document show up. There is a potential 15-minute lag for something to transfer over from the back end to the front end. So 15 minutes is not a super long time, but if you click post in the agency app and you come over right away to eVP and it's not there, give it some time. There's kind of like this 15-minute cycle that sweeps up from this side and picks up new things in the other side. And depending on where we are in that cycle, it could be immediate, it could be 1 minute, it could be 10 minutes, it could be 15 minutes. So we've seen it coming over pretty quickly, but we just want to establish an expectation that it could take up to 15 minutes, although for the most part, it's not. Now, vendor wants to look at this, or you want to make sure it looks good for you, you click on the solicitation number. Again, this would have your prefix there. And then respond to solicitation. You can see that I have to log in to be able to respond. So once I do that, I click respond. But this is the information I'm seeing, the documents and the solicitation number, and vendors will have the ability to respond to that. So 2 things before I go back and we talk about addendums is this notification. So we established our commodity code. There's a nightly email, I believe, is going out after 7 p.m. every night. So any new solicitation that's been posted or any solicitation where a change has been made, an addendum has been updated, a email will generate and send to everybody, any contact that has indicated they wanted to receive updates about janitorial services. And they'll say, hey, these 2 janitorial services solicitations were posted today, and this one had an addendum. And so they get that email and they can come to this system and decide how they want to respond to those. And then as well, there was a question earlier, but just want to reiterate. So this automatically posted here. It also automatically posts to the Hub Opportunity site. So you don't need to duplicate that posting notification. People that have access to that site will also know about that too. So that is kind of how it looks there. And I'm going to go back to my active solicitations. We're going to talk about addendums. Were there any questions before I go into addendums that we wanted to address about the way it's going to display on the public side?
No, not current.
All right, let's just move right along. So we've got our open one right here. This is what we're on, and we're going to talk about addendums. You can see now that this is open. I can't edit it, as I said, but I do have the addendum, and a common addendum that you are going to want to do would be to post a answers to Q&A. So what I can do is, and then so say we set a deadline or solicitation document, we get the questions, however we get them, it's time to post and answer. What I'm going to do is I'm going to click on addendum. And a couple things. So I can't change the project title, I can't change the description, but I can say what I'm changing in this addendum. So answers to vendor questions. You'll see here, cancel solicitation. I'm not going to do this, but this toggle, if I click it to yes, if I needed to cancel a solicitation for any reason, it's already been posted. I'd flip it to yes, and basically you just have to select the date, and once you post the addendum, it cancels the solicitation. So those are my answers to questions. I can change the date time. I'm not going to, so I'm just going to click save. Right, that's what we're doing. Now what we got is I can post this without a document, but we need to put a document in there. Hopefully the document works the first time this time. So I'm going to click upload document. This time I've got answers to vendor Q&A. It says it's success, and it tells me to refresh. Okay. And let me click refresh. I'm still not on the, well, actually, if I scroll down, the attachment on addendum shows up on this. So I'm on the general tab. You'll see the answers are there. That worked perfectly the first time. And so now what I want to do is, if this looks ready to go, I can add another document if I want to, but I don't need to. I'm going to click Post Addendum. Yes, I'm sure. And then now what happens, and I'm not going to go right back to to show you what it looks like on the public side. We'll show you later on when everything's there, but this would have immediately, or at least within 15 minutes, posted on the public side. And you can see here now, here's my addenda. And if I wanted to click in to see more information about it, I could click there. It has a number 1 next to it because it's the first addendum I created. Also, if I go to my Documents tab, the document, so your addendum document will show up on the specific addendum, also on the Documents tab. So that's nice. Now, another type of addendum that is common would be to extend the timing. This one, maybe I wouldn't need a document there, but I just want to show you that because it's an easy thing to do. So let's go to the addendum. Click a new one. We're going to say due date extended. We'll say 1 week, whatever you want to put there. And then what I'm going to do is my opening date from July 17th, we're going to give people till July 26th. And then I will save that. I don't need to put a document there. You'll see July 26th. And now I will click Post Addendum and click OK. And you are seeing now that this is addendum number 2, and it automatically does that. I can do as many addendums as I want as long as it's open, and the system will automatically number your addendums, and you will be able to, these will display on the public side of things, and vendors will have gotten an email that said, hey, there are actually 2 addendums on this demo solicitation today if they had signed up for this commodity code. So hopefully you're getting the gist of, okay, you create new things and then you look for the post button up top, and then that actually makes it active. And so now we have our solicitation. We've told you how to create addendums. And the next thing we want to show you is how to look at, we're going to hop into Time Machine, and how to deal with responses that we received back. So before we do that, Lauren, are there any other questions on addendum? That was pretty quick. I can't imagine there would be, but let me know if we want to address anything.
We have a clarifying question. Did you say vendors will only be notified after 7 o'clock each night of postings and or addenda?
Yes, it's that's my understanding right now. Yes, it's not in real time. So if you post something and someone has that commodity code, if you posted it at today, it was 2:40 that I posted it. They don't get an email at 2:40. There will be an email later that night. Now they can always go to the site and search for things, or if I don't know if it's within the rules, you could tell someone in particular that it's out there. But the automated notification is, my understanding is, that's going to run around 7 p.m. each night for anything that happened, I guess, since 7 p.m. the previous night. So certainly the business day.
Can I just add to that, Singer? This is Amanda. That it will be a summary email. So the advantage for the vendor is that rather than getting multiple emails throughout the day, they will get one email at the end of the day that summarizes everything that has happened that day. So it will happen in the evening, and that is a change, but the advantage is that it is a summarized version of what has happened throughout the day. So thanks.
All right, perfect. Okay, well, that was a good question, and thank you for all of those clarifications. What I'm going to do now is we are going to start using this one right here that I have responses already in. You can see it's in pending selection, and just kind of show you how you would deal with that. So let me see my recents here, and is it, I looked at it here. Let me click on it. And then I want to just show you just pinning it. So now in my recents, that is right there. And if this is something I want to deal with, I'm going to click pin. And then if I were to look down at my pinned, it is the one right there. So this would be one we're going to be working on a little bit. So this is in pending selection. No more addendum tab. I can't do any addendum. I've already done them. It's done. Now we're just reviewing this. And actually, this would show you how to download attachments, but what I want to do is I want to show you what it looks like if it's open, but you've had people that have expressed an interest. So I have this one here, eVP janitorial service open. And again, the parenthetical open pending paper I type that in, that would not be there. That's just so I can organize my demos examples in a better way. But if I click on this and you see bids, I can see, okay, so test vendor 100 and test vendor 102 on the 14th, they responded. If I click on one of these, or at the very least, it may not, that you may not have an actual response for them. You will find that out once it hits pending selection, but it says that they have clicked on the response button and they maybe have not actually attached your document yet. Now, I can't see any document even if they did attach it. That would give someone an unfair advantage, but you do have the ability to see that someone has expressed interest before it reaches pending selection. But now that it's reached pending selection, let me find my pinned one right there. Now let's click on that bids tab and you'll see now I have a tabulations tab. So if I open up the bids tab, now you'll see the same thing, test vendor 100 and 102, they responded. If I click on this one from test vendor 100, I will see here that it says it has, you know, the name and the solicitation, and then down below you have this timeline, and the default is, it says web, meaning they posted it from the web. They can add a comment, which they did not do here. They can add multiple attachments, which there would be multiple versions of this. The attachment limit, file size limit is 125 megs, which is a huge improvement on the current one. And they can attach multiple. So you should have no problem with maybe say architectural responses and all of the documents that they have there. But here's my document, and I'm not going to download this. This is vendor response 2. There's nothing on it, but you would download it there. And this is for test vendor 100. If I go back, now I open up test vendor 102, and really it's not super intuitive. As long as you don't click on the blue vendor name, that actually takes you to their vendor record. Just double click anywhere else, which I'm doing here, and it takes you to their response. And now I have vendor response 1. So I would download both of these and then start the process of whoever needs to review them, whether it's me or someone else. Now, what if I have 20 vendor responses, which is great competition, but there's a lot of attachments to download? Well, I think you might be happy with the fact that now there's this download zip up at the top. And so if I click on this, you need to make sure you don't have any pop-ups enabled, because I think the first time I did this, you can see now it's downloading the file. The first time I did this, a pop-up blocked it, and hopefully, oh, there it is, so perfect. I get a zip file that is labeled with whatever my solicitation number is. If I open it up, you get these here. And, you know, there's only 2 vendors. They're very generically named, but it is nice that you can download all of the attachments that might be on all of the different vendor responses all at once. So that download zip is going to be helpful. And then however you need to review these, you can do that. So that is a new thing, the increased capacity, and that all comes from moving to a cloud application that has so much more flexibility with technology. So I'm not going to actually open those up, but however you need to work with DIT or PNC or your internal people to figure out, okay, which is the best response, now you're going to do that. And but beyond, you know, the first thing you're supposed to do based on your tasks or your instructions and the kind of the path from PNC or DIT is you probably need to, and vendors will be looking for this, who responded. So you've got your bid tabulations that you're going to need to do. So I'm going to take this, we're going to say that test vendor 100 bid 70,000, test vendor 102 bid 75,000. And I want to put my preliminary bid tabulation out there. So what I'm going to do is go to my tabulation tab and do that. Now, the first tabulation doesn't need to involve prices. You can just say who responded. So, and I think there's a really quick way to do that. So let me show you that. So your eyes may be drawn to this plus new tabulation, and you'd be right. You're getting used to how this system works. Find the new thing and then add it and post. So I'm going to do that. But what I do want to show you is it defaults to this post vendor totals only. And it's kind of hard to tell that this is a dropdown. But if you highlight over it, you get this dropdown and you click there. And there is an option to post all bid items. Now, we're not going to go over the post all bid items here. We have a job aid for that. I think that most people, the post vendor totals is going to be fine. That's just going to be vendor A bid X amount, vendor B bid X, Y amount, vendor C bid Z amount, whatever that is. If you do need to be more detailed and say for line item 1, vendor A bid this and vendor B bid this. And for line item 2, vendor A bid this and vendor B did this, you can do that. but the default is the other way, and so that's what we're going to show you here. So leave it as that, click new tabulation, and really all you're going to do, the only thing that is required is the vendor. So I'm going to click on this search more. I'll go to advanced lookup, and I'm going to put in test vendor 1, and hopefully it shows up all the vendors with put in the 100, test vendor 100. Okay, let me just do test vendor and see what comes up. It is not responding quickly. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to do this again. Oh, maybe it was just coming up, but I'll just type here and see what comes up there. Literally an hour ago, I was able to find the vendors I was looking for. So I'm going to do this one more time here. And if not, I know that I had test vendors respond. But what we're going to do is, okay, so this system is the search and tabulations has not been working. So we're just going to say, hey, Diverse Point was our first vendor. There they are. How fun is that? So I'm going to click done. Oh, let me do that again. I'm sorry. Diverse Point. We'll click them there. It puts their account number. And then the total price, I'm going to leave blank. We're just doing this as a preliminary bid tabulation. And let me save that. Perfect. Now I'm actually going to click save and close. All right, so we have the one there, no price. Now I'm going to click post new tabulation. And this time I'm not going to search. I'm going to say Athletic Union was the other bid. And we are going to click save and close. And that's it. That's my that's all I need to do. No total price. This happens with this works with for preliminary bid tabulation. So I'm going to click post tabulation. Click OK. And then that is posted. I'm not going to go to the public side yet. We'll show you that in a second, but this is now out there with no price, and this follows your preliminary bid tabulation responsibilities. So now we say we've gone through the process, and we do need to, for DIT, you only need to post a preliminary, but for P&C, for non-IT ones, you do need to also post a final where you're adding prices. Now to do that, we're at the point where we need to do that. We don't need to post a new tabulation. We're just going to edit the current ones. So we're going to say that Athletic Union was 700,000 and 70,000. Diverse Point was 75,000. So I'm going to click here, and now I get an edit button. So let's click edit. And total price, I'm going to say 70,000. So, and maybe I just said it the other way, but we're going to say Athletic Union was 70 and Diverse Point is going to be 75. So again, just come right there, click edit, 75000, save and close. And you'll see you don't need to post this again. It will automatically update within 15 minutes, and you'll be able to see that on the public side. And that is our final bid tabulation, which is great. So I think that is really nice. Now, once I have my tabulations posted, awards is next. Before I go ahead and show the final thing before turning it over to Zach, which would be the final step in awarding, was there anything that we wanted to talk about on reviewing bids or bid tabulations, Lauren?
Yeah, one question. Is the bid tabulation for e-bids, or can we use this to manually input paper bids?
You would totally do the same thing to manually input paper bids. The one requirement being that the vendor has to be active in the system. So if the vendor is registered in the system, which they have to be able to click respond. Now, again, on a paper bid, they wouldn't need to do that. They would just follow that. But to post a tabulation and award, no matter how you receive the response, as long as the vendor is registered in the system, and they also have to be registered to get payment for that purchase order, then you would do the same thing. So this applies for that too. So that is a good question. Thank you for making sure that I clarified that. That it?
Another question, will we be able to tell before a bid opens if there have been any responses received?
So that was, let me come down here. So this one, this open one that I have pinned, if you go to the bids, you don't get notifications of this, but you can always check on your bids tab and you can see here, so this is still open, people can still bid on it, that it says that these two vendors bid. Now, if I double click on that, it says vendor bid response received. My understanding is that that could be slightly misleading because this populates when they click on the button that says respond to posting. If they don't actually attach something, which they most times don't do until the very end of the process, like right before it's due, you could go there and say, hey, wait, it said this vendor bid received test vendor 100 and they don't have anything there. It is not actually saying that they 100% attach anything. It is just saying that they clicked the respond to posting and they likely did respond, but it could be slightly misleading. So there's not a way to know 100% that someone did, but you can tell that people were definitely interested and it's essentially they intend to receive. And some of these people, in this case, both of them did respond. Okay, so I'm going to go back now to my pending selection one, just finalize things with the award. So we've gone through the process. We've had this approved by PNC or DIT. We've got a really good vendor. And in our case, if I go to my tabulations, I just want to make sure I get this correct. It's going to be Athletic Union. They bid lower. So I'm going to go to my awards tab. And you probably are now getting used to it again. Plus new award. Wonderful. So I click on new award. And the neat thing about this is now I need to pick my vendor, and there's other fields that I can indicate who I am as the purchasing agent, what county this was added in. You can do that if you want. But I need to put in the amount and the date. But the vendor, now when I search for the vendor, it only brings up the vendors who I did a tabulation for. So that's really nice. So I think we said Athletic Union, $70,000. And the date awarded today is the 28th. That makes sense. There's other options here. If there was a price match or reciprocal, you can toggle those over and fill out further information. But for your standard one, that's all you're doing. And you're clicking save and close. And now you have to make it public. You'd click post award and click OK. And we are good to go. So what I'm going to do now, we haven't gone back to the public side in a while. So I want to do that and just show you what this is all going to look like. And hopefully we get caught up in a good 15-minute cycle. So I'm copying down my RFP number here, and I'm going to go to my solicitations. Let me put that in right here, RFP. Let's click on that. And what we see here, look at this, already is awarded. So that's nice. Now, there may be some other parts of it that haven't already updated, but this looks good. So this is awarded. And this is another neat thing that I think is going to be very nice for vendors. If you go to filters, you can search for all things that are awarded. Currently now, once something is kind of open for bidding on IPS, it kind of disappears and you need to know the bid number for it. You can search by many other things and you can search for only things that are awarded. And instead of disappearing totally after 90 days like they do now, things are going to live on for a long time because of the cloud aspect of this there. So I can search awarded if I need to, but I found the one I want. You can see here. And so I'm going to click on it and we'll show you what this looks like now. We hadn't really looked at this since we updated our bid tabs and addendums and all that. So if you find one that is past bidding, it still says respond to solicitation. As I scroll down though, but it says you can't accept bids. So this is essentially null and void. The attachments I did there had my Q&A answers. I had my solicitation document. The addenda I posted, answers to vendor questions and extending the due date. Those are all listed there. The tabulations we posted initially, the tabulation would have had no total price, but after I updated that for the final one, that's there. And then the awards. So all this was nice. We got that 15-minute lag, didn't hurt us here. We awarded this to Athletic Union. Yep, and that makes sense. They bid 70,000 there. And then if you click on these drop downs, you can click view details. And this says, you know, if there's any other information, comments, purchasing agent I put in, that would show up there. But now this lives there. And so this whole solicitation is going to live on for a long time. And it's going to include the information, addendum, tabulation, awards, and which is nice. And you'll be able to search this much, much longer into the future than you currently can right now. So that is that. So we went through the process on our end and seeing it on the other end of how to create one, how to do an addendum, all of that. And we think that that is, I think, hopefully was a very helpful to you to kind of see that. You know, once you get in here, you will learn it. There will be muscle memory that builds up. We're going to support you. But that was a very quick hopping in a time machine and doing a solicitation from start to finish in a couple minutes. Before we're about to switch it over to Zach, he's going to cover some other stuff before we wrap up. Were there any other questions on the awarding part since we last did tabulations that we need to discuss?
There are around award. We don't have any questions.
Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to kick it to Zach, and he's going to start off with contract extensions. I just want to be clear and define what we're doing when he's talking about contract extensions. So first of all, this system is not going to be negotiating a contract extension. It's just posting the announcement of one that you've already gotten approved by PNC or DIT, and also agreed the terms upon which with the vendor. So we're going to be showing those in a second. And secondly, just to make sure, there's a difference between a contract extension and a contract renewal. So if you had pre-negotiated the option of a renewal in your contract that's already been, or in your solicitation, already been approved, you don't need to announce that publicly. You just deal with the vendor, you take on that extra year. A contract extension is something that's not, at least originally, it's not originally planned. So it's like a temporary extension of something that probably should have been put out to bid again. You have to get the approval to do so by PNC or DIT if it's above your delegation. So you would have done that. And then you need to then post notice of that in this system. And that's what Zach is going to show you how to do that and then how that will display for the vendor. So just to make sure that you understand what we're showing here, this is something that's already been negotiated and approved. We just need to make notice of it. So Zach, I know you've already taken the screen. Thank you very much.
Perfect. So as Jeff said, we're going to go over and demo for you guys creating a contract extension in the new eVP system. So first of all, I am currently signed into the back end of eVP, and you'll notice on our left-hand side on our navigation panel in our bid management section, we have our contract extensions option. So I'm going to go ahead and click on contract extensions. And then here you'll see all the current active contract extensions that have already been created. For this demo, we're actually going to create a new one. So we're going to come up to our command bar. We're going to hit this new button to create or start creating a new contract extension. So immediately you'll notice that our first field right here is solicitation number. So this will actually link to a solicitation that has already been created in the eVP system. There's also this external solicitation ID, which will be used for any solicitations that were created outside the system. So we anticipate that you guys starting off will use this external solicitation ID for most of your contract extensions until you've had some created in the eVP system get to the point where contract extensions are necessary. So to start off with, I'm actually going to populate the external contract ID. So I'm just going to give this an ID right now. And next, I'm going to give my contract extension a description. So this is janitorial services. And then I'm going to give it an original start date. So you can either use the date picker to find the date and click on it, or you can type it in. So for this example, I'm actually just going to type it in because I think it would be a little bit quicker. And next, we're going to give our original end date for our contract. So this time I will use the date picker, because I'm going to say this contract was originally set up to end on July 1st, 2023. And next we need to put in our extension end date. This time I'll just type it out. So I'm going to say, hey, we're going to extend this just one extra year here. So our new extension end date will be July 1st, 2024. And then for explanation, this is a free text field where you can type in an explanation for the extension. So I'm just going to say extending for 1 year. And then I'm going to start filling out this second column. So our next field is original contract amount. So for this one, we're going to say it was $75,000. And for extension amount, we're going to say our extension was for $25,000 for 1 more year. This is the first extension for this contract. So for extension number, this will be 1. I'm going to list myself as the contract manager. So this is a free text field, and I'm just going to type my name in here. And then finally, it asks for the contract manager email. So for this, I'm actually going to use our vendor email. And then now that I've filled out all my required fields, I'm going to come back up to my command bar, and I'm actually going to hit this save option up here. And then you'll notice once I hit saved, we have a new section on our contract extension. We have this awarded vendor section. And we also have this post contract extension button up top on our command bar again. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to add an awarded vendor to our contract extension. So I'm going to come down here to our awarded vendor section, and I'm going to click add existing vendor. And then I actually see my vendor in my recent records, so I can go ahead and click on this vendor right here to add them. But if I didn't see them, I could hit this all records and then use this search bar to search for them. But now that I've selected my vendor, I'm going to go ahead and click this blue add button. All right, let me try that one more time. Let me try refreshing the overall contract extension record. Oh, got a little bit of an error message. So let me go back in and real quick try to do that again. So again, you'll get to see me enter in this data a second time as I go through real quick and get us back to the point where we can add our awarded vendor. And my description. Perfect. So now, again, I'm going to hit my save button. Now that we've saved it, we can go ahead and start adding our existing vendor. Click on the vendor, click add. Okay, I'm going to try one more time, just a hard refresh on my page, just to make sure my profile is as up to date as it should be. Perfect, hit save one more time, hit add existing vendor, click on our vendor, click add. Perfect, so now our awarded vendor has been added. We can just take one more second to look through our details, and then we can hit this post contract extension button. And once we click this post contract extension button, we'll get this post contract extension confirmation, which is just letting us know that, hey, if we click OK, this contract extension will be posted onto the public portal and will be visible. So I am going to actually click OK. And then I'm going to grab this RFP number, and I'm actually going to go to the public side. And then I'm going to click on our contract extensions option from our top menu up here. So there is a similar situation to the solicitations that Jeff was talking about, where there is a 15-minute caching situation. So this contract extension might not be over here, and it's not, but we are coming up on our time for this specific one. So what we're going to do is I'm actually going to look at just another contract extension so you can see what it looks like when they do come over. So here, here's actually a very similar example to what I was using. It's another contract extension for janitorial services. You can see the basic details of the contract extension right there. And then if you actually click the little arrow to the right of it, you can click on awarded vendors and actually see the details of such as the explanation and the actual vendor that was awarded to. So next, I'm actually going to move on to our public vendor search part of this webinar. So from our top menu up here, we can actually click on vendors, and then it'll come up with our public vendor search. So there are 6 filters that are available initially, but we do have a bunch more. So you can actually click this advanced search triangle right here, and that will reveal the rest of our filters. So for this demo, I'm going to go ahead and search for a vendor that is currently active for NCE procurement. And then if I keep scrolling down, you'll notice that we do have a commodity code search as well. So I'm going to click this add commodity codes button. And I'm going to say, hey, we're looking for vendors that do janitorial stuff. So let's say, hey, you know, we're actually looking for janitorial services. Perfect. We see this code right here. We can check the box and we can hit add. I think personally, this is a huge improvement on our current public vendor search because there isn't really like a search functionality. You kind of would just have to expand all the categories and then hit Control F to search for specific codes. But now that I have both my filters filled out, I'm going to go scroll all the way down to the bottom and hit this blue search button. And then the search may take a minute or two depending on how complicated and how many results are in your search. But you'll notice that up in our top left-hand corner that we had 337 records returned. We also have this export to Excel button. So we could click this button and it'll export an Excel version of this search. And then we also can actually click on the vendor's name to see more details about said vendor. So for example, if I click on 64 Portables Inc., I can actually click on their commodity codes tab to see what other commodity codes they've registered under. You can actually see that this vendor is registered under quite a few. So there are multiple pages here that we can click through. And then if we wanted more contact information for this vendor, we could look at their contacts page and we could see all the contacts that are associated with the account, including their emails and phone numbers. So that kind of concludes our public vendor search part of this webinar. Lauren, did we have any questions we wanted to answer before we move on to Hub Statistics?
I don't think so.
Perfect. So for Hub Statistics, we're going to go back to our back end of eVP, and if we look at our navigation panel on the left-hand side, we'll notice this Hub Management section and specifically this Hub Statistics category. So this part of the webinar might not be applicable to everybody, depending upon your responsibilities and whatnot. But once you do click on Hub Statistics, you'll notice the records that are currently created for your entity. And the system will actually create these records on the first day of the quarter for the previous quarter. And to view the record, you would actually double click on it. And it'll pull it up. And you'll notice that the fiscal year and quarter will already be filled out. And then depending on if your entity reports your data to the Hub spending report system, then you may also have some additional fields filled out. This specific entity, it doesn't look like we got that data for, so everything currently is just listed as $0. So now what we're going to do is we're going to actually start scrolling through and filling out this information. If you look at the field and it has a lock symbol next to it, that means that you actually can't click in and edit that field. And most of these fields will calculate based on the input of the other fields. So we're going to start with term contract purchases. And I'm going to say, hey, we did $50,000 of term contract purchases. And then next it's going to ask us to break up these purchases by our spend. So, and again, this is our total. So this is Hub and non-Hub. So the values down here might not necessarily sum to our term contract purchases, but let's say we did 5,000 in our Hispanic category, 500 in our American Indian, and 2,000 in Asian American. And then you'll notice that these locked fields right here are a bunch of percentages. They won't actually sum up to anything until you click the Save button. But once we do click the Save button, you'll notice that these percentages, as well as these fields up top here, start filling themselves out or start calculating themselves. So we're kind of done with the term contract purchases. So I'm going to move on to the commodity purchases. So I'm going to say for commodities, we did $25,000. And we did $5,000 in our female category. Then we did 600 in Hispanic. And then if I go ahead and actually let's do 2,000 in our black category as well. And if I go ahead and hit this save button again, you'll notice that our percentages update, our commodity purchases just purely hub updates, and then our fields up top also update to reflect the new data that we input. And if we keep scrolling down, we're in our service purchases, hub and non-hub. And this is, again, the total. So let's just say we did $60,000 here. And we did 10,000, or actually 1,000 American Indian, 2,000 female, 1,000 disabled owned, and 4,500 in our black category. And again, we can click this save button. That'll make our fields that calculate themselves update themselves. And then once we're done reviewing or entering in our information, we can actually scroll all the way to the top, hit this approve button. Once we hit this approve button, the status reason will update from pending to submitted, and the approved by and approved on will update to reflect the user who approved it and the date and time that they approved it. So I'm going to go ahead and click approve. And you'll notice status reason updated, approved by and approved on have also updated. Lauren, did we have any questions about hub statistics before I throw it back to Jeff for some takeaways and any other?
There are no questions on hub stats.
Perfect.
Okay. Well, thank you, Zach. I appreciate that and wrapping us up there with the hub stats and the contract extension notifications. And that brings us to the end of the presentation for today. So just some next steps as we just completely wrap up today. We are going live on July 10th. So in the meantime, we will be compiling all of the Q&A answers, whether we did answer them, whether we didn't answer them, get that to you soon. We'll be providing a link to the recording. That would be helpful for you to watch that again. We are continuing to update our job aids. So once we go live on July 10th, that will be there. But everything is going to be in one place now for both the vendors and you, which I think is going to be a nice thing. There is great new visibility across your entity if you have multiple people that are putting solicitations there. And we're going to be there to help you. So our help desk, our job aids, you didn't really have as depth of support as we can now provide going forward on July 10th. All that will be there for you. So there's always a transition cost when something new comes out, but once you get used to it, I think you're really going to like the upgrades that have been put in place. And to help you get used to that, we are going to be there. So do not hesitate to reach out to us with questions and all that. So thank you very much to everybody for your time. And I believe July 6th, we are going to be doing one more of these. If you wanted to come again, same presentation, just different interactions. But thank you guys so much. Have a good rest of your day and into the next holiday weekend. We will see you later.